The Chinese customer story by you/toss in bin when done. So, first time posting and I made it a throwaway. Anyway, a little backstory about myself to set the scene. So, I'm a dancer stripper in a popular tourist destination in the main part of the city for tourist and the nightlife. Being at Mecca for tourist, we rarely get regulars locals. Mostly it's people visiting and partying it up while they are here. The clubs are topless only, so we always have bottoms on, and I usually have 2 layers of bottoms. Okay, now for the story, to keep things from getting too long. It's a few small encounters leading up to the main events. So a few years ago, while I was at my usual club dancing, I met a Chinese man who spoke very little English, but I believe he understood it more than he let on. Thus, we never really spoke much. He came in one night while I was on stage, and it being kind of a slow night, the money he tipped me, maybe $15, was more than anyone else. So a custom in my line of work, I went over to thank him after I got down and asked if he wanted a lap dance. After some explaining what a lap dance was, he agreed and we went to the back. Now, the place I work has really amazing cameras all over and a guy watching everything live. He can zoom in and read people's texts. The cameras and monitors are that good. Anyway, I get the guy into the back where I know we are on camera. I explain the rules. He can't touch me. Collect the money and start the dance. Right away, he is trying to touch my boobs and my butt. I stop, tell him no, then hold his hands down. The rest of the dance went well after that. So the next time he showed up, he again tipped well enough on the stage and wanted to dance again. I remind him that he can't touch me, and he agrees. This time, he instantly tried to slide his hands up to my crotch. Again, I grab his hands, stop, and stand up. I told him no, and if he can't follow the rules, the dance will be over. He agrees to behave, and I start back up. And for the most part, he was fine, but I still cut the dance a little short. The next time he comes back, I didn't really want to dance for him again, but he was offering even more money than before. So I agreed to one dance and a hefty tip, which I collect up front, of course. Well, I again hold his hands down for the entire dance. Then, as I'm getting up after the dance, I had my back to him. He grabbed the back of my bottoms and pulled at the same time, reaching under with his other hand. This sort of thing is why I wear 2 bottoms. I jumped and turned around. I then hit him in the face and yelled at him to get out. Our hosts, think bouncer/host, heard something was going on from the camera guy and came over and escorted the guy out. So I was pretty shaken up after that. He did actually touch me before I got myself turned around, but he only got my top panties pulled down. They don't expect us to be wearing 2 bottoms. The next week, the guy has the balls to show up again, and I don't know why he was allowed back in. Anyway, I refused to go near him and actually hid up in our dressing room until I had to go on stage. He was still there, waiting for me. The whole time I was on stage, I completely ignored him. He left me about $40 on stage, and I left it for the next girl because I wanted nothing to do with him. Well, once he realized he gave someone, I can't remember who, a note he wrote for me. I refused to read it, but all of the girls there read it and the staff. I did have my manager read it and told him I wanted the guy banned from the club for good, and he was. According to my friends that read the note, he wrote that he was so very sorry for what he did, although I don't think he actually mentioned what he did. He also was professing his love for me. The note was a full front page out of a school notebook. Since I refused to read it, I'm not sure how bad it really was, but I really didn't want to know. I was plenty creeped out enough, especially since this guy is a local. I heard he came back once more and was told at the door that he was not allowed in anymore. I have seen him around town since then, but luckily he never saw or recognized me. It helps that I look completely different in my everyday life compared to when I'm at work. So, creepy Chinese guy, let's not meet again. Edit. Sorry, I posted from my phone so it didn't space corrector. I've always wanted my own Asian girl story by Flash the Tiny Time Lord. So this happened last summer, but reading these stories reminded me about it. So here we go. On one Saturday where it was particularly nice outside, my cousin and I decided to meet up and go to the local farmer's market to get lunch together and hang out. But we live on opposite sides of the city, so she said she would come pick me up by the train station near the market. This train station doesn't exactly have any good pickup locations, so I went across the street to a costume store and asked her to get me in the parking lot. When my cousin is outside, she sends me a text asking me to come out. Now, this costume shop is in a strip plaza, and right in front of the entrance there's a little area where you can sit and there's bushes and flowers. This is probably a good place to note that I'm a petite Asain girl, and since it was so nice out, I was wearing shorts and a nice sleeveless shirt. As I was leaving the store, there was a group of 5 homeless men drinking Slurpees. and sitting in that area. It was about 11 a.m., and I could smell the alcohol off of them. They all turned to look at me, and one guy stood up and started to catcall at me. So without replying, I scanned the parking lot to find my cousin, who was parked very far away, and begin to walk over to the opposite side of the plaza. Except this guy starts following me. He begins to tell me that he thinks I'm so pretty and hot and how he's always wanted to have an Asian girl. I didn't even know what to think of that. Honestly, I thought he was going to try to abduct me. Of course, at this point, I'm beginning to panic, and I'm on the verge of an anxiety attack. I keep my eyes trained to the ground and hope that my cousin will see me and come and save me. At this point, the man begins to get frustrated with my lack of response and starts calling me a tease. Thankfully, my cousin sees me and this strange homeless man and tries to pull over to where I am. As I'm leaving, he asks me for a high five and extends his fist. Trying to be polite, I gently tapped his fist and booked it to the car. So, creepy drunk homeless man, let's not meet again. So, how much for the little one? Story by The Tiny Time Lord. Let me preface this story with a few things. I'm not the best writer, and I've not posted here before, nor do a lot of people know this happened to me. I'm turning 22 at the end of the month, and this event happened almost a decade ago. Yet I still remember it so clearly. I still think on it often, and bring it up to my family as uncomfortable it makes us. It reminds us on how dangerous the world really is. As a little backstory, growing up, I'd always had extremely fair skin, blonde hair, and light eyes. The kind of thing that specific creeps unfortunately go for. When I was just around the bend of becoming a teenager, my older sister, 8 years ahead of me, was in the military and had been gone for quite some time now. However, she was finally coming back home to old USA soil a few states away at a base in Kentucky. My parents and I were excited and planned to leave for the weekend. We could finally go and see her for the first time in years. It would only be a few days, but we were happy regardless. We ended up seeing her, of course, and had a few days to be able to go out to eat, open her accumulated Christmas presents, and go to a nearby mall in proximity to the hotel we'd been at. I've never seen someone so happy just to wear regular civilian clothes. Lol. I digress. Right from the get-go, our last night together felt odd as we walked this mall. Just one of those creepy vibes you get from an unfamiliar area. It wasn't too long until closing, and at this time frame, malls closed at about 10 p.m. or so. I'm sure you know what happens at malls. You go in and look at everything. Unbeknownst to us at the time, the four of us come across the last store we would be stopping at for the night before leaving. We walk in, and it's not particularly a store we'd go into, expensive streetwear clothing. Like the pesky 12-year-old I was, I go back and forth, pestering my mom and dad walking around the store as my sister looks around as well. Suddenly, my sister walks over to my mother as I'm near my dad and whispers something to her. A man, with a most defined black mustache I remember, had been tailing us and doing the typical retail routine. Hi, is there anything I can help you with? Can I help you find something? But he's being too persistent and only asking my dad these things. The man didn't speak broken English, but his accent was incredibly thick. Perhaps Indian or Turkish, we think. My sister and mother walk out of the store and keep eyeing back at my dad the "all right, let's go now" look. Now me, being 12, feeling even worse vibes. I don't understand why my mom and sister are wanting to leave so badly, but I start to catch up to them regardless. As my dad starts noticing us leaving, he begins to walk out as well, but the man stops him as I'm still in earshot. I find out at this point the man has been staring at me almost the whole time, with my aloofness to the situation. He looks away from me and to my dad and asks, "So, how much for the little one?" My dad, visibly confused, chuckles uncomfortably, thinking it's some kind of really tasteless/bad joke. My mother and sister don't hear this and are still waiting for myself and my dad to catch up several feet away. "What?" My dad furrows his brow and replies, hoping for some kind of explanation. The man proceeded to say that he wanted to purchase me. Visibly protective dad mode now and realizing the man is completely serious. "We don't do that here." His rising tone was palpable. And he starts hurrying me away to mom and sis, and we start leaving as he tells them what just happened. The whole drive back to the hotel, my sister is just consistently getting more upset, saying if she had known, she'd kill the fucker. Haha. And honestly, I'm not sure there's really anything we could have done. But regardless, the entire situation was beyond uncomfortable. Especially now that I realize the implications of what was going on. So, creepy mustache man, please let's not meet. ever again. I can scarcely imagine what kind of life you lead behind closed doors. TLDR. A man brazenly asked my dad if I was for sale and if he can purchase me. Almost kidnapped in Thailand. Story by U/Terry Skies 7. I am a 21-year-old girl taking her first backpacking trip around the world. I only arrived in Thailand 2 days ago, and it was unfortunately as I almost got kidnapped on my first night. I went to Bangla Road, which is well known, and had a few beers at a bar, and then went to the popular club Illusion. I was having a good time, dancing and meeting people. In the club, I had only 3 drinks, tequila and orange juice. But at some point, I realized I was a lot more drunk than expected. Do not know if I was spiked. But I was dumb and had my drink on the table next to me while I was dancing, and it was very crowded. In total, over the space of 3 hours, I only had 2 beers plus 3 tequilas. Usually that is an okay amount for me to be aware. I went to the bathroom and felt very intoxicated and threw up. Upon leaving the bathroom, a guy who I do not know grabbed my arm. He seemed young, and I asked him what he was doing. He said he would help me down the stairs. After we got down to the road, he dragged me down an alley and put me in his car. He was really scared at this point and didn't know how I'd gotten myself into a bad situation so quickly. I am very small and not very strong, so it was easy for him to take control of me. He started driving, and I kept saying no, 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 and to stop, but he said, "Don't worry, I'm taking you somewhere safe," which was so scary. I had maps open, and we were driving out of Patong. Finally, after some time, I started telling him I would throw up all over him and his car if he didn't pull over. This seemed to annoy him, and he pulled over. The second he stopped the car, I got out and ran down the street. Luckily, there was a motorbike taxi who asked if I needed a lift, and I jumped on and told him where my hotel was. I could see the guy walking down the road after me as we sped away. Made it back to my hotel safely. Honestly, after that, I'm not going to any bars or clubs alone. I don't trust anyone, feeling very vulnerable. At least it was a lesson that I need to be a lot more careful. Just glad I made it out okay.